Hi, I'm Dr. Renee Clausell, clinical psychologist and coach, and this is Couch Confessions. So welcome back, and if you're new here, Couch Confessions is where I share a little bit about what's happened on the couch this week, both professionally and personally. So this week, I'm going to talk about healing, because healing ain't pretty, right? And I want to talk about what came up in some of my sessions, like, are you healing or are you hiding? And then I want to have a real conversation about friendships and when friendships end, right? When you grow out of friendships and how do you handle that? And that can be messy. It's like, yeah, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. I want to have like a real conversation about growth and grief of relationships and why some people don't walk with us through life, our entire lives. Like, why people are sometimes in our life for a season and how you handle that grief or reality. So yeah, I've been talking to a lot of my clients. We're going to start with are you healing or are you hiding? So I've been talking with a lot of my clients lately about healing or hiding. And one of my clients said to me, I feel great. And I said to her, okay, I'm glad you feel great. Do you feel great because you are healing? Or do you feel great because you're now hiding from your emotions? So the thing is, healing is messy. It's lonely sometimes. It can look like crying in your car between errands, something I've definitely done. It can look like pulling away from people who once felt safe to you. Because real healing means undoing years of survival mode. And it means questioning your patterns and your habits. And it means choosing peace over performance again and again and again. And that's another thing I say to my clients. Like, it takes consistency to change your neuroplasticity, to change your habits. To grow and create new neural pathways takes consistency and it takes time. And it doesn't feel good. I always say to people, like, if you start to feel uncomfortable, that means you're probably growing, right? Because change feels uncomfortable. And, I had a client once who said to me, I thought healing would, feel empowering. But it mostly feels like grief. And I was like, yeah, that means you're changing, right? Because you're grieving who you used to be. You're grieving the friendships that don't fit anymore. And that one is hard. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Grieving friendships that don't fit anymore and grieving the time you lost pretending you were fine when you weren't fine, right? So let's talk about friendships that we've outgrown and like this silent shift of when friendships or certain people don't fit in our life as nice and neatly as they had before, and how painful of a process that can be. So I think we just have to accept that there are friendships in our lives that just don't make it past certain growth spurts, and people who you thought, would be in your wedding or that you haven't talked to in like a year or several months, and people you used to text every morning, and now it's just the occasional emoji reply, and it hurts. Even if you don't talk about it so much, it hurts. But here's the truth. Crisis often reveals connection, right? So when the world slowed down during the pandemic, or when something has happened in your life that's catastrophic or major, you clearly see people who showed up, right? You see the people who showed up, and sometimes it's not the people who you thought were going to show up, right? But then that piece of you could have been an old piece of you, right? And those people showed up for that version of you, that older piece. But then as you grow and you start to build newer versions of you, because that's what growing is, those people might not be able to show up for this newer version of you. And then you start to question yourself because they meant so much to that older version of you. And you might start to ask yourself, should I reach out? Should I just let it go? Am I the one who pulled away? And you might feel some guilt about that, like maybe or maybe not. But how can you feel good about this new version of you and the experiences that that new version will encounter and the new friends that new version will make? So here's what I say to my clients. Sit with yourself and think about that person and ask yourself, do I miss them? Or do I miss who I was with them? Do I feel energized or anxious when I imagine reconnecting? That's a big one. Because if the newer version of you does not feel energized when you think about reconnecting with them, sometimes the friendship is worth a phone call, and other times it's sacred to let it go with love. And I teach my clients like a lot of letting go, detaching, meditation, and visualization work that they can do. Not everything that ends is a failure, right? Sometimes it's just a chapter closing. And I know that sounds cliche. It's easier said than done. But yeah, sometimes it's okay just to let friendships go and love them and applaud them for what they were, right? But that is the hardest part. So again, you can outgrow people and still love them. I think that's one of the hardest things. Like, it's easier to get angry at people and let them grow and let them go. But yeah, it's okay. It's a process. It's a journey, but it is okay to let people go and still love them. And it doesn't mean you're broken, or you're mean or you're evil. It means you're human and you're growing and life's different. And sometimes people will make you feel guilty for staying in that old version of you. And that's not okay. But healing and growing is the fact that you're even thinking about it, right? Thinking about your growth, noticing, having empathy and compassion for the relationship that once was, right? Noticing that you don't want to hurt yourself, but you don't want to hurt someone else. Like, that is growth. That's real, right? And that is healing. So I guess I challenge all of us this summer to take a deep breath and let it be. Let things be. If you're changing, there's no guilt around your change. If you're healing, know that it's going to be bumpy, but keep putting one foot in front of the other. Soften your heart, right? That's really what I'm doing this summer. Softening my heart, softening my progress, not putting too many expectations on myself to perform, even in my friendships, right? I have to take care of myself, but again, with compassion. I'm like, my clients have got me onto this whole thing about therapy speak. So I don't want to say just abandon people. Look, it's not about that. You want to do it with compassion, but you do want to acknowledge that you're growing. And sometimes, a lot of times, growing means leaving things, people, experiences in the past. And that's real. So that's Couch Confessions this week. I hope you guys liked it. Meet me back here next Sunday for another Couch Confessions. Bye, guys.